I'm Jirou, a complete virgin, rejected by my crush for being too much of a loser. However, my life takes a turn when I'm forced to get married and practice enough with the class's hot, busty girl, otherwise we both won't graduate. To start the story, the pink-haired gyaru Akari visits a shrine to pray, begging the gods to give her a handsome boyfriend for the school's marriage practice program. Unexpectedly, a cute, brown-haired girl, Shiori, appears behind her and trips on the stairs, accidentally falling onto Akari's butt, causing the girl to jump in surprise. They recognize each other from attending the same school, and Shiori asks if Akari is praying for a partner in the marriage practice. Flustered, Akari denies it vehemently and flees. Shiori doesn't seem too bothered, as she's also here to pray for her own partner. By the way, marriage practice is a brand new program at the school, where male and female students are paired up and live together to simulate real relationships. Later at school, I, a pathetic main character, and my loser friend Kamo are chilling on the stairs playing games. Our chat ends when Akari and her friends show up. She orders the two good-for-nothings to get lost, and we both immediately obey like good dogs. At this school, Akari is a notorious hothead, and while Kamo is infatuated with her beauty and charm, I absolutely despise her. To me, she's a bullying, condescending brat. Just then, on the stairs, Akari spots Manami, the school's Romeo. The dazed girl stares at him lustfully like a donut topped with cream, imagining herself as his Juliet. But I notice her behavior and feel disgusted by her fakeness. I head to class, but before I can sit down, Shiori approaches me and asks about the marriage practice. She's worried and hints that she wants to be paired with someone she already knows. At first, I brush it off. But the thought of being paired with Shiori, my first love, fills me with hope and determination. I admit I'm very shy around girls, and she's the only one I've ever talked to. The teacher explains the rules. Each male-female pair will live together, and their heart rates will be monitored for points. Pairs with higher scores will rank higher, but there's a condition. The paired students must sleep in separate rooms. I don't like the idea of boys and girls living together in an apartment, but I have no other choice and hope I get paired with Shiori. But no, reality slaps me in the face like I'm Will Smith, and I get paired with Akari. She grabs my collar, furious, and I quickly remind her that I didn't ask for this. Akari smirks, saying she knows I want Shiori, and disparages Shiori as a plain but cute girl. Then, cruelly, she implies Shiori might be doing shady things with another guy. The thought rattles me until a loud slap interrupts. Our couple's score drops to -3. This device records how couples interact, and Akari fears will drop to -1,000. Determined not to fail, she emphasizes that we need to get along. She explains that if we make it into the top 10, we'll have a chance to switch partners. Motivated by the possibility of being with the person I like, we call a temporary truce. Akari suddenly changes her attitude by flirtatiously teasing me. She pressed against my arm to gauge my reaction while calling me a failure. Confused, I leaned in. But when our timer went off and awarded us a point, we both realized acting also worked. We celebrated, though I took the chance to buy us some water. Akari insisted I get one for her too, since that's what couples do. Downstairs, I ran into Shiori, paired with Manami, and discovered they were practicing kissing. Seeing her so close to that handsome guy shattered my heart. I returned to the apartment and slumped onto the sofa. Akari noticed and tried to comfort me, but I resisted. Believing she was just faking it, she told me to brace myself and suggested we practice as a couple to ensure we get an A, to which I reluctantly agreed. Just then, the doorbell rang, and outside, Kamo urged me to go to Comic-Con with him. I seized the opportunity to escape, and Akari retorted that leaving her alone would cost us points. But then, she demanded a goodbye kiss before I left. Cornered by her yelling and Kamo's incessant ringing, I panicked and kissed Akari before leaving Akari stunned by the real kiss, and our timer reset to neutral. A week later, I dreamed Shiori woke me with a kiss, only to be jolted back to reality when Akari hit me with a frying pan, urging me to help her make breakfast. Despite trying to shake off the dream, I couldn't forget the feel of Akari's lips on mine. At school, I continued my work until a teacher called me over, telling me to meet her after class with Akari. On the way home, I saw Shiori hugging Manami, misunderstanding the scene and sinking further into disappointment. After class, a heavy rain began to fall. Without an umbrella, I waited under a small awning. Kamo refused to share his, saying he was loyal to his imaginary girlfriend, leaving me out in the cold. Akari rushed past, on her way to karaoke with friends, including Manami, and forgetting my reminder about the meeting with the teacher. Left alone, I took the scolding, knowing our couple rank had dropped to E, meaning we were at risk of completely failing the practical exam. Meanwhile, Akari was singing karaoke with Minami, trying to get closer to him, but Minami maintained his distance. Back outside, I waited for the rain to stop when Shiori suddenly appeared beside me, also without an umbrella. That moment lifted my spirits until Shiori surprisingly hugged me, causing my thoughts to almost freeze. She quickly explained that a nearby beetle had startled her, and I realized she had hugged Minami earlier for the same reason, and that I had misunderstood everything. Shiori asked me to call her name, something she was very fond of. But before I could respond, Minami arrived to take her home in his umbrella, completely unaware that Akari was also there, silently observing the scene from a distance. A little later, Akari came closer to me with her own car and took me home. On the way, she scolded me for missing out on an opportunity with Shiori, and I could only apologize for my clumsiness. But Akari scolded me even more, telling me to remember our real goal, and that we both needed to try harder if we wanted to get the partner we desired. That night, Akari prepared a sweet roll for me, writing a mischievous message in ketchup to look like a loving wife and score points. In response, I offered her a bite of my food. After some hesitation, Akari accepted, leaning forward to eat from my plate. An awkward tension rose between us. Before either of us could react, my phone rang, breaking the moment. But we both felt our hearts beat faster after what just happened. A few days later, I had another dream about Shiori. In it, she reached out to me, gently, begging me to stay by her side. But just before things got too intimate, Akari's loud voice called my name and woke me up. Still groggy and annoyed, I opened the door to face her, only for Akari to hug me tightly, catching me by surprise. She asked me to stay with her tonight, giving me a strange sense of comfort. But instead, I went to watch a horror movie with Akari, because Akari was recommended that by a friend that by watching horror movies together, they would score points by comforting each other and increase their score. But I didn't like this idea and refused to delve into it. I turned off the TV and told her my opinion about that idea. And then, to my surprise, Akari pulled out 2 pairs of pajamas, insisting that we had to wear them as a couple while watching the movie. Akari said she worked hard to buy these pajamas because she wanted to get rank A and a partner. Hearing Akari's sincerity, I accepted her gift and wondered what happened to Akari after she went on a karaoke date with Minami, because she seemed more excited after the date. I suspected something had happened with Minami that she wasn't telling me. After many playful nagging, I finally gave in and agreed to wear them. She told me to turn around so she could change, and while I hesitated for a moment, I finally changed into my pajamas. Suddenly, a loud thunderclap sounded outside and the power went out. I couldn't see anything and turned back, but before I could react, Akari, clearly afraid of the dark, hugged me tightly. Her sudden closeness flustered me, but before my thoughts went too far, I noticed the heart rate monitor readings for both of us were rising rapidly, pulling me back to reality. Realizing how scared she was, I turned on my phone's flashlight and saw Akari's tear-streaked face. But before I could comfort her, she started hitting me lightly, ashamed that I had seen her in such a vulnerable state. I then checked the bedroom door and realized it wouldn't open without electricity. Akari insisted I had to stay with her on the sofa until the power came back on. So the two of us sat together in the living room. Akari leaned on me, asking me to tell a funny story to make her forget her fear. Instead, I mischievously told her a chilling ghost story about an ancient ghost, making her even more terrified. Annoyed, Akari muttered that Minami would handle the situation better. But despite her complaints, she didn't let go of my hand and admitted that I was the only one she had at the moment. I felt my resolve waver, almost blurting out how cute she looked, but stopped myself just in time. To calm herself, Akari lit a scented candle that her friend Natsumi had given her, filling the room with a gentle fragrance. As the soft light spread, Akari began to doze off next to me. Without thinking, I hugged Akari and whispered how cute she looked, then immediately let go, embarrassed by my slip of the tongue. I glanced over and saw that she had fallen fast asleep. Lightly tiptoeing, I whispered again softly that she was very cute, holding her hand before dozing off myself, hoping she wouldn't hear. But the next morning, Akari woke up flustered, fully aware of everything I had said. Later at school, we discovered that our score had risen to rank B, indicating our efforts to act as a couple were proving effective. However, Akari seemed upset about something, and when I noticed, I saw that Minami and Shiori's couple rank had dropped to E. In the following days, I couldn't stop worrying about Shiori. Part of me felt guilty knowing Shiori wasn't getting along with Minami. But I also felt sad that even though Akari and I had reached rank A, it meant nothing if Shiori and Minami failed. At a cafe, Akari sat with her friends Sachi and Natsumi. And as they noticed, Akari was lost in thought. They teased her, guessing she was thinking about Minami, and encouraged her to enjoy the crepe she had been craving, saying it was as soft as a prince's kiss. But that only reminded her of the kiss she had shared with me, making her flustered. Her friends were sure something had happened between her and Minami after the karaoke session, but Akari denied it. Her friends noticed her reaction and teased her more, but they also warned that while Minami's couple might be in trouble, if Shiori won his heart, Akari might lose her chance with him entirely. That reminder made her feel conflicted. Back home, I lay in bed feeling sick, annoyed that Akari had chosen to hang out with friends instead of taking care of me to earn more points. I received a message from her saying she forgot her keys and asking me to open the door when she rang the bell. Then the bell rang, and thinking it was her, I forced myself to get up. But when I opened the door, I found Shiori standing there, ready to take care of me. Flustered but happy, I let her in. Shiori explained that Akari had asked her to look after me while she went out with her friends. As I silently thanked Akari for what I call a double dose of ingenuity, Shiori began to take care of me. She gently placed a cool compress on me, reminding me of the time I took care of her when she was sick, and that sweet memory made my heart flutter. After that, Shiori went to the kitchen to make porridge, and I silently reflected on our complicated past, especially the time Shiori was about to transfer schools, and I wanted to confess my feelings, but I ended up telling her to be yourself, breaking my heart. When she returned with the porridge, I ate gratefully, but realized too late that I had missed my chance since she spoon-fed me. I complimented her cooking, saying Minami was lucky to have someone like her, but Shiori explained that Minami could also cook and was very skilled. But although they were both good partners, she admitted their relationship was in trouble. Shiori hesitated but finally admitted she wished I was her partner, because she had trouble connecting with guys. Wanting to help, I held her hand and told her I would help her in any way I could to succeed with Minami. But then realizing I might have sounded too enthusiastic, I quickly hid my face in embarrassment. Later, as I dozed off, Shiori quietly thanked me for letting her stay and admitted how happy she was to share this moment with me. She leaned in, about to kiss me, but stopped at the last second, remembering their complicated past. In her mind, she recalled how I never confessed my feelings before she transferred schools, leaving their feelings unresolved. And a part of her wondered if things could have been different now. That night, Akari came home and went to the bathroom. While she was inside, I spoke through the door, thanking her for asking Shiori to take care of me. I admitted that it had made one of my dreams come true, but I also told her that I planned to be a good husband in practice so that we could eventually switch partners, with Akari being with Minami and me being with Shiori. To my surprise, Akari didn't seem fazed at all. Instead, something about my words made her feel uneasy and strangely jealous. A few days later, during lunch, Akari interrogated me. She asked if guys liked girls like Shiori, innocent and family-oriented. I was flustered, and then Akari asked further about what pleased guys. I couldn't answer because I didn't want to upset her, but Akari threatened that I wouldn't get any dessert if I didn't answer, which forced me to answer her silly questions. She placed her fork next to her partner chopsticks, making me dizzy, but I tried to focus and told her that guys liked a bento box that was made with care and effort. A few hours later, Akari dragged me to buy bento ingredients because she wanted to make a bento for Minami. From then on, we spent many days together as I helped her practice cooking, test recipes, and evaluate them. While I liked all of her dishes, I admit I liked my rolled omelet a little sweeter. Akari disagreed, insisting Minami must have a more mature palate and would prefer something less sweet. When I told her not to ask for my opinion anymore, she snapped and ordered me to be quiet and keep helping. At school, Kamo was furious to see me eating Akari's food, grumbling about how I was a damn lucky brat to be tasting Akari's meat. What is he even talking about? He even asked if things between me and Akari would ever turn serious, but I denied it. At that moment, Akari heard her name and approached us, making both of us panic, fearing she might know about our chat groups. Without needing any explanation, we both quickly apologized. Curiously, Akari asked me how her lunchbox tasted, and I admitted I liked it, but once again requested it to be sweeter, which again ignited another argument with Akari. Watching them argue, Kamo became jealous and cursed the anime gods for turning him into a side character, wishing he was in my position. The next morning, I woke up to find Akari in the kitchen, making lunch for Minami to bring to his part-time job. I praised her diligence, and when she asked me to try her rolled omelet, I took a bite. While eating, I mused about how the rolled omelet didn't reflect my own life, complicated and unbalanced, as despite being Akari's husband, she was cooking for another man, while I harbored feelings for another man's wife, Shiori. Afterward, Akari changed into a slightly revealing outfit, intending to give Minami both her lunchbox and her affections. I noticed how attractive she looked and felt a bit jealous, noticing she'd never dressed like this when we hung out together. But suddenly before leaving, Akari shyly asked me for a farewell kiss similar to the one I had given her before, saying it made her feel safe. I panicked, but ultimately hesitated, ready to kiss her until the doorbell rang and ruined our moment. Shiori stood at the door to visit us with a beautifully made apple pie. When we asked, she explained that Minami had asked her to bake it since he liked sweets. Hearing this, Akari felt dejected, realizing her assumption about Minami's palate was wrong. Shiori noticed Akari's lunchbox and left in misunderstanding. She felt conflicted about it and imagined Jirou and Akari spending time together as a real couple. Afterward, I ate the failed lunchbox to cheer Akari up, but she admitted she felt she had nothing special to give Minami. Seeing her unusually sad, I tried to comfort her, saying worriedly that many boys would be attracted to her charm, but my clumsy way of saying it made it sound like I only found her physically attractive, which made her even sad. The woman asked me if I thought about her that way, and when I answered with difficulty, she climbed on top of me and teased me, challenging me to prove it by keeping my penis from growing. At first, I was overwhelmed by the moment, but I realized how worried Akari truly was and stopped myself. Although I really wanted her, I held back, telling myself that we both cared about each other. But that hurt and embarrassed Akari, making her feel unattractive and undesired, leading to her deciding hastily and declaring that they should end their married life. In the following month, Akari and I grew distant, falling to rank E, while Shiori and Minami had risen to rank A. Kamo tried to confront me about it, but I dodged, instead reflecting on the moment I stopped with Akari. I realized it was her first time too, and felt guilty for thinking she was experienced in that kind of thing. Afterwards, Shiori arranged to meet me privately on the rooftop. She gently asked about my situation with Akari, and I admitted I was wrong to assume she wasn't sincere. Then, as a longtime childhood friend, Shiori encouraged me to make amends and assured me she believed I could do it. That evening, I went straight to Akari's room and knocked. She invited me in, and I noticed a faint, alluring fragrance in her room. I apologized, but as Akari tried to deny I was at fault, I knelt down and sincerely apologized. Akari hid under the covers, ashamed, but I refused to let the matter drop. I admitted that although I sometimes had wild, impure thoughts about her, the reason I stopped was that she deserved to be cherished, rather than treated like a one-time toy. Then, I gently pulled down her covers, as if parting a veil, and told Akari I wanted to marry her again. Akari grasped my hand, pressed it to her cheek, and softly admitted she enjoyed their time together and even liked me. Caught up in the emotion, I leaned in to kiss her, but Akari mischievously stopped me, laughing at my reaction. That made the atmosphere completely lighthearted, and she officially welcomed me back as her partner. After I left, Akari stood on the balcony, realizing with a faint smile that she had just admitted her hidden feelings for me. A few days later, during gym class, Akari and her friends were busy gossiping about their crushes, laughing and whispering until the teacher scolded them for not paying attention. Meanwhile, I kept stealing glances at Akari, but when Kamo caught me looking, he assumed I was actually looking at Shiori. At the same time, Minami was dominating the basketball court, making perfect shots like Kobe in his prime, and I noticed both Akari and Shiori were looking at him with admiration. That's when I felt a surge of inferiority. Kamo, still Kamo, looked at me suspiciously and then whispered a rumor about Shiori and Minami, suggesting they might become a couple. On the other side of the gym, Akari's friends were telling her something similar, that Minami had no plans to partner with Shiori, possibly because he was completely infatuated with her. Akari refused to give up and still held on to hope, determined not to lose. But for me, that news crushed my spirit, and Kamo even teased me more, saying Shiori would prefer someone dashing like Minami over a weakling like me. In my mind, Minami was a heroic knight who defeated demons while winning the hearts of every girl around, while I saw myself standing in a corner, useless and ignored. After gym class, Shiori came to me and noticed how sad I looked, thinking I had argued with Akari again. She gently advised me to make up with her. She had no idea she was the reason I felt so terrible, and I wondered how she would react if she knew. Gathering all my courage, I cautiously asked if she intended to continue being Minami's partner. Meanwhile, Akari was tidying up the gym when Minami suddenly appeared behind her, startling her, As she turned around, a box fell from above, but Minami reacted quickly, pushing her out of harm's way and ultimately falling on top of her. When he got up, Akari's heart pounded, realizing she still had deep feelings for him. Before leaving, she worriedly asked if he planned to stay with Shiori, and Minami admitted that it was possible as things seemed to be going well. Akari tried to stay calm, but her eyes welled up with tears. When Minami noticed and asked about it, she made up an excuse to hide her heartache. Just then, Minami gently cupped her face to comfort her. Kamo peeked into the gym and accidentally saw them, completely misunderstanding the situation and thinking they were kissing. Turning back to me, Shiori admitted she wasn't sure if she wanted to be partners, but promised she'd be by my side if we ranked A together. Before I could reply, Kamo ran up and tried to tell me what he'd just witnessed. Annoyed, I begged him to stop talking. But before Kamo could finish his story, Minami and Akari appeared behind them. I immediately noticed Akari's sad expression and wondered what had happened, while Kamo was frozen in the middle, becoming the awkward third wheel. Minami then called Kamo over, gave him the gym key, and easily persuaded him to accompany her before leaving with Shiori. Left alone with Akari, I wanted to ask if something was wrong, but she brushed me off and refused to explain further. The next day, I overheard Akari's friend talking about how she was returning home early because she had a cold. Kamo appeared nearby, circling me anxiously, as if wanting to say something. When I pressed him, Kamo finally blurted out that he saw Akari kiss Minami in the gym and expected me to be upset. Kamo was shocked when I remained calm and said I supported their relationship. Later at home, I entered the apartment and found Akari lying on the sofa. I greeted her, but she completely ignored me, acting cold and distant. Sitting beside her, I gently apologized, saying I was sorry I wasn't Minami. This immediately caught Akari's attention, and she demanded to know why I mentioned Minami's name. Forced to explain, I confessed that I knew about her kiss with Minami and said I supported her decision if she wanted to be with him. Akari burst out laughing, leaving me stunned. She told me I had misunderstood and that Minami hadn't kissed her, but was merely blowing dust out of her eyes. I realized Kamo had made a fool out of me. Embarrassment washed over me. Akari then revealed she was upset because Minami rejected her advances, meaning he likely didn't have feelings for her. Overwhelmed, she started to cry. Ashamed to be seen in such a vulnerable state, Akari asked me to look away, but instead, I hugged her tightly and gently said I had already looked away. Surprised, Akari hesitated before hugging me back. Later, while Akari was showering, I replayed the moment in my head and immediately regretted hugging her, worrying it might be inappropriate. Just then, Akari walked out wearing my oversized t-shirt, casually eating an ice cream, and my heart nearly leaped out of my chest. She sat next to me, leaning close without hesitation, and I tried my best to appear calm, though my thoughts were racing. Noticing my struggle, Akari teased me, calling me out for not being affected when she knew exactly what was going on. Then suddenly, she mentioned rumors about Minami and mimed a kiss with her hand, assuring me that her first kiss truly belonged to me and that I was the only one who had ever tasted her lips. I completely froze, my head spinning, while Akari scolded me for stealing her first kiss. Yet, deep down, I felt a surge of happiness, realizing that, of all things, her lips were mine alone. A few days later, as I was getting ready for school, Akari called me over and adjusted my tie. When I looked at her, I momentarily imagined what it would be like if she were truly my wife. Akari noticed my gaze and immediately grew flustered, thinking I was contemplating something related to the bedroom and a lot of intimate movements. The lady suddenly hugged me and told me to study diligently, which completely surprised me. As soon as I was about to hug her back, she quickly let go and walked away, leaving me standing there awkwardly and ashamed. At school, I entered the classroom to clean up and noticed Shiori tidying up, even though it wasn't her turn. When I asked why, Shiori explained that her friend May had asked her to do it for her. But despite being assigned to clean up, she was happy because May gave her this opportunity to spend more time with me. Later, after nothing happened between them, May muttered that Shiori's plan seemed to be failing since nothing significant had occurred between them. However, she encouraged Shiori to be braver, saying she should confess soon, knowing Shiori wasn't very experienced with guys. Meanwhile, Akari was hanging out with her friends, talking about how the mock marriage program had created 10 real couples. She nodded, saying those people were just caught up in the moment. But when her friends noticed her contradictory reaction, they started teasing her about me. They insisted they would support her, no matter which guy she chose, even if it was me and my cold personality. Akari laughed dismissively, insisting her heart still belonged to Minami, even though even she didn't seem convinced. Later at school, Shiori and I successfully finished cleaning the classroom, but I struggled to find a topic to discuss before we parted ways. Fortunately, Shiori started a cheerful conversation about their former homeroom teacher, which helped them relax and chat comfortably again. At that moment, Akari spotted them together from afar. For some reason, she quickly hid behind a corner. She was also confused as to why she felt the need to hide from them. She quietly walked away, bewildered by her own reaction. Turning back to me, Shiori suddenly noticed something on my head and asked me to close my eyes and lean forward. Thinking she was about to kiss me, I panicked, but still complied only to realize she was just brushing dust off my hair. I cursed myself for overthinking. Meanwhile, Shiori regretted missing the chance to admire my lips. That night, I sat on the balcony lost in thought about Shiori when Akari came over with 2 cups of warm milk. She casually asked about Shiori, and when I tried to play it down, she called me out for being a terrible liar. Then, without warning, Akari asked me to call her by her name. I hesitated, surprised, but she pointed out that I called Shiori by her name so easily while refusing to do the same for my wife. She gently admitted that although her name represented light, there were times she felt insecure, and having someone she trusted like me call her name brought her comfort. After a moment of silence, I finally called her name, causing Akari to freeze. As I tried to retract my words, she stopped me and asked me to repeat myself, which I refused. They started arguing until Akari blurted out that it felt unfair that she was the only one calling me by my name, as if she was the only one who cared. The moment froze, both of us realizing what she had just said. Akari panicked, trying to cover it up by saying she meant it as my fake wife, then ran off to her room, refusing to believe she had confessed her feelings. The next morning, the teacher announced that as part of the marriage practice curriculum, the upcoming exam would combine each couple's scores, and if they failed, they wouldn't graduate. I panicked, realizing that while Minami and Shiori would be fine, Akari and I were in serious trouble, considering the brain fart of us both. After class, I tried to persuade Akari to study with me, but she refused, saying she was invited to karaoke, where boys from other schools had specifically requested her presence. I insisted that she should focus on the exam, but she brushed me off, saying she'd be fine. But I had enough of being taken for granted, and I firmly told her to cancel her plans and study with me. Akari protested, saying her friends needed her there, but I replied that I needed her more as her husband. Hearing this made her blush, and she reluctantly agreed, although deep down she felt annoyed, believing I was only doing this for points because of Shiori. After that, our study session began, but it was very difficult for Akari, who hated studying, and quickly lost focus. I tried to encourage her, but she felt discouraged, thinking I was only pushing her because of Shiori. When she suggested doing something fun instead of studying, I refused, insisting we had to stay on track. Changing tactics, I praised her every time she answered correctly, and to my surprise, Akari gradually began to put in effort. Hours passed, and we had completed our practice session. Akari thanked me, calling me sensei, which made me flustered. Noticing my reaction, she started calling me names like caregiver, and her face grew redder and redder. Wanting to tease me further, Akari suddenly lunged at me, pinning me down and putting me in a dangerous position. Dazed, I tried to resist, but accidentally caught a glimpse of her curves, making my heart pound. Unexpectedly, we slipped, and I ended up on top of her. As Akari nervously told me to stop fooling around, something inside me snapped. I locked eyes with her, my hand sliding down her waist. Akari let out a small yelp, her cheeks turning crimson. But before anything else could happen, she noticed my nose was bleeding like a teenage loser. The tension broke and Akari burst out laughing as I wiped my face in embarrassment. When I asked why she had been acting so strange all day, Akari admitted it was because she thought I was only doing this for Shiori. I explained that I did that so Akari could be with Minami, but my words left Akari deep in thought. If they reached rank A, they wouldn't be living together anymore, and she wouldn't be greeting me home as my wife anymore. That night, Akari hugged her clothes tightly, inhaling the faint scent of soap they shared on their clothes, cherishing this fleeting married life she knew would eventually end. The next morning, I greeted Akari, but to my surprise, she started calling me by my last name. She acted cheerful, bright, and lovely as always. However, she continued to use my last name instead of my first name, which made me uncomfortable. When Kamo heard about it, he teased me, saying I was being demoted from husband to supporting character. But I brushed him off, knowing Kamo preferred more promiscuous girls anyway. Afterward, they coincidentally met Mei, who was facing a confession from a girl. Mei gently rejected the girl, explaining she wasn't interested but hugged her to comfort her. The rejected girl then asked Mei to say her name just once, and when she did, I realized what that gesture meant. That made me remember something I had overlooked. Akari had also wanted me to say her name. Upon returning home, I was preparing to take a bath when Akari excitedly came in, showing me their exam results. We both passed with high scores, and she hugged me enthusiastically, ignoring my protests. After that, while Akari was drying her hair, I remembered her wish and gently called her by her name. At first, she didn't notice, but when she finally realized, her confident expression disappeared, and she became flustered. Then, she shyly called my name back. Realizing I was affecting her, I playfully repeated her name multiple times, overwhelming her until she stopped me while blushing. Akari admitted she liked it and asked me to continue calling her that because they didn't have much time together as a couple. Meanwhile, Mei noticed Mai and Akari's scores and warned Shiori about how close they seemed. Mei hinted that if Shiori didn't act soon, Akari might completely win my heart. This stirred something within Shiori, but before she could reply, she was hit by a stray ball during practice and had to go to the infirmary. Seeing an opportunity, Mei told me about Shiori's condition and gave me snacks and drinks to bring to her, encouraging me to visit her. She also secretly texted Shiori, letting her know I was coming, which made Shiori determined to make the most of this opportunity. When I arrived, Shiori was delighted to see me, but things became awkward when I noticed the same type of food on her table. She explained Minami had given it to her earlier, and the thought of Minami's involvement made me jealous. Shiori then gently brought up Akari, mentioning that Akari and I seemed to be doing well. She admitted she wished she could be in Akari's position, by my side as my partner. Worryingly, she confessed that compared to someone like Akari, she felt herself falling behind when it came to romance, and that she was generally shy around guys. I reassured her that there was nothing wrong with that, which made her feel more comfortable. With all her might, Shiori asked me for a favor. She wanted me to teach her how to kiss properly. I hesitated, taken aback by the request, but Shiori insisted that there was no one else she trusted more. After some internal struggle, I agreed, and we slowly leaned closer. However, just as we were about to touch, the door suddenly opened, and Sachi walked in, half asleep. Seeing the pair of shoes by the bed, she assumed someone was doing something behind the curtain and quickly left without a word. Confused, I and Shiori scrambled away, but in the process, I accidentally bumped into her and we ended up touching. Regardless, realizing what had just happened, I quickly pulled away. Panicked, but Shiori calmly told me it was okay. Dazed, I rushed out of the room. Meanwhile, Akari was waiting for me to reply to her message. When Sachi appeared and casually mentioned what she saw in the restroom, it strongly implied that something intimate had happened between me and Shiori. Shocked and hurt, Akari found it hard to believe. A little while later, I messaged her confirming that I was in the restroom, which only amplified her suspicions. Later that day, Akari visited the cafe where Minami worked. Although Minami recognized her, he pretended not to see her and silently gave her a special treat, which only confused her further. She returned home in a gloomy mood, torn between trusting me and fearing Shiori might still have my heart. Upon arriving home, she found the house a mess and me asleep on the sofa. At first, she felt uncomfortable with the disarray, but seeing me asleep after waiting for her calmed her mood. She took off her pajamas, climbed on top of me, and wished I would wake up so she could feel secure about my feelings. That night, Akari secretly hoped that nothing had really happened between me and Shiori, and that she wasn't being abandoned as my partner. The next morning, I woke up startled to find Akari looming over me, making it look awkward in reality. Akari noticed my embarrassed look and teased me, saying I had taken her to new heights and kept her up all night. I panicked, my mind racing, and worried that something serious had happened that I didn't realize. Desperate, I asked Akari if it was true, but instead of answering, she asked back, wanting to confirm if anything had happened between me and Shiori. I firmly denied anything happened, and she finally admitted she was just teasing me. Gently, I scolded her for bringing up such a serious topic, while Akari laughed, but hid her discomfort after seeing how nonchalant I was about knowing I wasn't her. First, the next day, Kamo noticed something was wrong with me and asked what was happening, but the question only reminded me of Akari's fiery figure, making me panic internally. Meanwhile, Shiori was struggling to carry the heavy trash for her task. But just then, Sachi and Natsumi arrived and quickly offered to help her. As they were sorting things out, Kamo and I walked by, and the girls immediately pulled us into helping. Natsumi playfully teased Kamo to draw him in, which was effective immediately. When they started discussing task assignments, the girls decided to pair Shiori with me, but Shiori quickly requested to be paired with Sachi instead. I almost collapsed at the rejection, and Sachi apologized for almost pairing Shiori with me. But when the girls noticed Shiori's embarrassed expression, they realized she had feelings for me. After that, while hanging out with Akari, Sachi and Natsumi casually asked Akari about her feelings for me. Akari dodged the question, but they already knew she liked me. They reminded her of Minami, teased her about how she used to love him, but assured her they would support her no matter who she chose, whether it was the hot-headed guy with the small whip or the weak large one. After Akari left, the two friends discussed Shiori's growing feelings for me, and worried that if Akari hesitated too long, I might choose Shiori instead, leaving Akari heartbroken. Suddenly, they discovered a flyer for a fireworks festival, and they came up with a plan to help Akari gain an advantage. A few days later, after being invited to the festival, I helped Akari put on her yukata so she could impress Minami. She criticized my careless work, calling me useless. But I internally wrestled with the urge to untie her obi and shut her up. Akari showed me different obi tying methods and asked for my opinion. But when I chose the ribbon knot, she dismissed it, saying Minami would prefer something more refined. When she asked if I was jealous, I denied it. Akari got upset and started teasing me about how she would be having fun with Minami while I was home alone and feeling myself. After fixing the latter half, Akari asked me to do the front half. As I wrapped my arms around her, the delicate fabric made the moment unbearably tense, and we both felt it. Later at the festival, Sachi and Natsumi praised Akari, saying she looked so amazing that Minami would be instantly attracted. They revealed they had even spoken to Minami's friends about her feelings to help, which shocked Akari. But they reassured her that her yukata would charm everyone. However, hearing that only made Akari think of me, who had dressed her and made her look so beautiful. She convinced herself that if she loved Minami more deeply, it would hurt less when she finally had to support my relationship with someone else. At that moment, Minami's friends arrived with guilty expressions. As they explained that Minami couldn't make it due to overtime work, Sachi scolded them for failing their mission. And when one of the guys, Terafun, tried to flirt with Akari to substitute, she stammered while Sachi dragged him away, calling him pathetic. Afterward, the girls apologized to Akari, but she insisted she was fine and walked around the festival alone. Although she had prepared a lot to impress Minami, Akari felt strangely lighthearted that he wasn't there. Clutching her yukata, she grew more anxious, thinking that both Minami and I might not have feelings for her. At that moment, she heard people talking about a beautiful couple and turned to see Minami walking beside Shiori. Her heart sank, believing they were together, and she fell into doubt, wondering if she should give up. Before her thoughts could turn darker, Sachi and Natsumi found her, noticed her expression, and suggested she go home. Meanwhile, Minami and Shiori left the festival. It turned out they weren't dating, and Shiori was simply showing Minami a shortcut to his workplace. Minami thanked her, and she replied that since they were paired for the practical exam, they should try their best for each other. Back at the studio, I was alone on the balcony after a self-inflicted session. Depressed and resentful, I imagined Akari happily with Minami while I was stuck alone, wondering who I would be once our marriage ended. And compared to Minami, I felt like nothing in Akari's life. At that moment, Akari called me in tears, asking me to comfort her. I rushed out and found her sitting outside looking utterly defeated. She was frustrated about feeling defeated, and I quietly reassured her, welcoming her back. Afterward, we watched the fireworks together from the balcony. Akari shyly asked if she looked cute in her yukata, and I said I preferred the ribbon style more. She realized I was jealous, and unlike before, I didn't deny it, which surprised her. Smiling softly, she placed my hand on her waist and said I could tie the ribbon I liked. At first, I struggled, fumbling with my phone to find a tutorial, but as Akari leaned in to help, the phone slipped from my hand, and I instinctively wrapped my arms around her to catch it, holding her close. Instead of stammering, Akari gently asked me to call her name to boost her confidence. I complied, then whispered her name repeatedly, and Akari savored every sound. Fireworks bloomed into hearts above them as they shared that moment. Akari thanked me for not asking about what had happened before, and I secretly wondered why. Although I cared about Shiori, having Akari by my side felt quite substantial. Meanwhile, Shiori felt lonely, thinking that I hadn't spoken to her since their surprise kiss in the infirmary. At that time, Akari was still struggling with what had happened during the festival, convincing herself that her heart still belonged to Minami, even though she felt conflicted inside. The next morning, the test results were announced, But despite their efforts, they still didn't achieve an A. Nevertheless, Akari remained optimistic and believed they could still do it. At the end of that day, I went to take a bath, reflecting on how Shiori had cried earlier and how much she seemed to want to be by Minami's side. Surprisingly, Akari rushed into the bathroom in a panic. She didn't even care that I was sitting there completely naked. She, crazier than ever, told me that someone was following her. But when I asked who, she said it was a monkey trailing her. Annoyed, I scolded her for bothering me over such a trivial matter, but Akari led me out and dragged me to the living room. When they couldn't find the monkey, I asked about its size, and Akari used her fingers to show how big it was. Still scared, she refused to let go of me and insisted that I had to stay with her, clinging to me tightly. She asked me to go with her to get some snacks, and we ended up sitting on the sofa together. Akari leaned close to me, and I tried my best to stay calm and control my reaction. After a while, Akari started fidgeting uncomfortably, and I noticed. When I asked if something was wrong, she shyly admitted she wanted me to go with her to the bathroom. I waited outside while she did her business, and she kept calling my name to make sure I hadn't left. When she was done, I went in next, and while I was waiting, Akari started to realize how patient and gentle I had been with her, despite all her demands. When I came back out, I offered to hold her hand, which made Akari smile, as she happily accepted. They went back to the living room, and while I was eating ice cream, Akari asked for a bite. At first I was hesitant, but after Akari playfully teased me, I finally gave in and gave it to her. Suddenly, Akari asked me what I would do if they met as strangers from the beginning. I thought they wouldn't interact, but Akari disagreed and said she still wanted to meet me, even if I wasn't her designated partner. Surprisingly, Akari joked that they should go on a date, but when I found myself realizing she was serious, I realized how much that idea had grown in my head. Unbeknownst to me, Akari was also secretly thinking about it. Just then, Akari spotted the monkey again and jumped up in fright, clinging to me tightly and pulling me into poses my male self had never imagined. Then they brought up that Minami might become a parasite if he becomes Akari's husband. But Akari just laughed, knowing I would always be there to protect her. That night, while I slept soundly, Akari leaned against the wall opposite my room, quietly imagining what it would be like if they slept next to each other. Meanwhile, Shiori was spending time alone on the balcony, lost in thought when Minami approached and gently offered to listen to her worries. She admitted to accidentally kissing someone and worried that it might cause trouble for her lips. Minami reassured her, telling her to be confident and encouraging her to ask the person directly if she wanted to know for sure. The next day, Shiori discussed outfit choices with Mei, but Mei kept teasing her, suggesting Shiori should surprise me by appearing in a daring outfit like a birthday suit. Shiori tried to focus on Mei's outfit, but Mei playfully insisted and flirted, making Shiori flustered and realizing why so many girls were attracted to Mei's charm. Soon after, Terafun, Mei's practice partner, entered and told them that he and Minami would be going to karaoke late, and Mei should stay over with Shiori. Before leaving, he whispered to Mei to take the opportunity to awaken Shiori's pure romantic feelings, which made her panic, but Shiori found the idea intriguing and agreed to stay over. After that, Terafun went to hang out with Minami and Kamo's older brother, and during their conversation, Minami casually mentioned me, which immediately made Terafun uncomfortable. To him, I was a constant obstacle, the reason he couldn't get closer to Akari, and he couldn't stand even hearing my name. Meanwhile, Shiori and Mei completed their sleepover plan, and when Shiori suggested they bathe together, Mei couldn't stop thinking and started imagining scenarios. But when Shiori mentioned wanting to look at old photos with me, Mei realized Shiori's heart was elsewhere and decided to cancel the sleepover. Elsewhere, I was talking with Kamo about summer plans. Kamo expressed jealousy, pointing out how lucky I was to spend so much time with Akari and even be kissed by both her and Shiori. Annoyed by this, Kamo declared he would erase those memories from existence by engraving them himself. Just then, Shiori happened to walk by the restaurant and look inside, catching a shocking sight of Kamo trying to force a kiss on me. Startled, I immediately pushed Kamo away and hastily ran outside to explain. Shiori listened and, despite feeling awkward, believed me when I said it was a misunderstanding. However, as the topic changed, they realized they were talking about two entirely different kisses, causing both to blush in embarrassment. I noticed Shiori was wearing heavy accessories and offered to help, and together they walk while sharing the burdens. In a moment of quiet contemplation, both imagine what it would be like to be married. Bearing life's burdens together, Shiori finally brings up their casual kiss, and rather than feel embarrassed, admits she really likes it and is grateful it happened. Their eyes meet, and tension builds between them. But just as they lean closer, a black cat jumps between them, halting the moment before it could happen. The next day, the teacher announces the start of summer break, but I'm still conflicted with my jumbled feelings for both Akari and Shiori. At that moment, Keimo excitedly shows me a flyer for a part-time job at the beach, mentioning that his brother is the manager. To my surprise, Keimo reveals he signed up both of us, without asking for my opinion. I scold him, insisting I don't want to participate. But before the argument can continue, Shiori unexpectedly appears. When Shiori sees the flyer, she smiles softly and says she'll be working there too. Hearing this, Keimo proudly tells her that he and I will be there as well. Shiori looks overjoyed, which makes me immediately change my mind, and now I can't wait to start working because Shiori will be there with me. I even start daydreaming about spending special moments together, but Keimo reminds me I'll need Akari's permission before accepting. When I get home, Akari greets me in her swimsuit, and I almost spit blood on the spot. She explains she's going to the beach with friends and asks for my opinion, but I can't stop staring, completely flustered. Noticing this, Akari teases me, throws my jacket over me, and claims I'm a pervert. I compose myself and ask if there will be any boys on her trip. Akari thinks I'm jealous, but I explain I just feel better knowing she'll have someone to protect her. Smiling faintly, Akari admits she isn't really going on vacation because it's a part-time job at the beach. I mention I'm also working there thanks to Keimo signing me up, which surprises her. However, when I mention that Shiori will also be there, Akari's mood subtly changes. She tries to act cheerful, saying she's glad I'm finally making progress with Shiori, but her slight jealousy shows. Suddenly, Akari jumps on me and demands I admit I'll miss her when we're apart. I refuse, so Akari leans closer, teasing until I'm completely flustered. But then, Akari's playful tone fades, and she starts to cry softly. I panic and comfort her. Through her tears, she admits she'll miss me over the summer. She hugs me tightly, saying she needs to recharge, and I struggle to control myself, summoning all my focus. After calming down, Akari asks me what I think of her swimsuit, and when I grudgingly admitted I really liked it, she surprised me by saying she'd wear a different outfit. Confused, I asked why, and Akari shyly explained that she was saving this swimsuit for when the two of us went to the beach alone. But at that moment, I noticed her work ID and realized we were both headed to the same place. After that, they arrived at the island by boat with the other employees. Minami led everyone on a tour before taking them to the cafe where they would be working. They changed into their uniforms, and the owner mainly asked everyone to pair up, dividing into kitchen and service duties. Hearing that, Shiori immediately asked me to be her partner in the kitchen, and I happily agreed while my heart pounded wildly. Meanwhile, Akari ended up working at the cashier counter with Minami, where she finally had a chance to get closer to him. Looking from afar, Terafun sadly watched, seeing the girl he liked spending time with others. Sachi and Natsumi teased him, saying Minami would win Akari's heart, but Terafun calmly asserted they were wrong, and declared he knew something they didn't, and refused to explain further. Back in the kitchen, Mei encouraged Shiori to seize the opportunity with me, and even helped her create situations to get closer to me. When Shiori pretended to need something from a high shelf, Mei called me over to help her. Keimo tried to intervene, but Mei quickly pulled him aside and gave him another task to distract him. While decorating the dessert, Shiori showed me how to apply whipped cream correctly. She leaned in close and whispered playfully, telling me to be careful not to spurt it everywhere too quickly. Flustered, I struggled to concentrate, and as Shiori placed her hand on mine to guide me, my clumsy movements sent whipped cream splattering everywhere. We both burst out laughing as I gently wiped Shiori's face clean, causing her to blush. Feeling bold, Shiori leaned in as if to kiss me, but suddenly noticed Natsumi and Sachi peeking from the corner, causing her to panic and pull back in embarrassment. Despite the awkwardness, Shiori secretly rejoiced that she had finally made some progress with me. After their shift ended, everyone went to the beach to relax. The girls showed off their swimsuits, and the guys couldn't help but glance sneakily. Keimo nudged me, pointing at Akari's swimsuit, and I realized she was wearing a different one than she had shown me before. It was then I understood she was truly saving that swimsuit for the two of us. Just then, Mei and Shiori joined them, but before they could start playing, Shiori pointed towards a nearby hotel and said there was something they needed to do. A little later, they built a sandcastle inspired by the hotel Shiori had pointed out earlier. While shaping the walls, Keimo couldn't stop glancing at the girls and whispered something to me, who finally stared intently at Shiori. Shiori then suggested they make a secret tunnel through the castle, like they used to when they were children. As they went inside, their hands accidentally brushed against each other, and Shiori gently took my hand. From afar, Akari watched them, her chest tightening with jealousy. Afterwards, Akari and I were sent to buy food for the group. While standing in line, we noticed a flyer advertising a discount for couples. Akari excitedly suggested we take advantage of it, but I hesitated. Ignoring my protests, she flawlessly played the part, calling me her boyfriend with a radiant smile. I, flustered, awkwardly laughed in front of the cashier, and then Akari chided me, saying I should act more confident and not look embarrassed when I'm with her. Our order was ready, and as I went to get it, leaving Akari alone, a group of guys approached her, trying to flirt. They mocked me when they saw me, saying a weakling like me didn't deserve someone like her. Noticing Akari's discomfort, I quickly pulled her close and declared possessively that she was my wife. The guys backed off, and Akari, blushing furiously, stared at me in surprise. I apologized for saying that, thinking she'd hate it. But instead, she looked sad and told me never to apologize for standing up for her, and declared that she was mine. She admitted I looked quite cool doing that, and told me to be more confident as her husband during the wedding practice. Later, after going to the beach, Akari and her friends relaxed in the hot springs, with Shiori and Mei joining them. While Sachi and Natsumi complained about their partners, referring to them as lacking in size, Shiori and Mei listened silently, initially a bit uncomfortable. Soon, the conversation shifted to me, and Sachi teased Akari about being lucky to have someone like me. Mei tried to stop the mischievous gossip, but the girls pulled her into the discussion. To everyone's surprise, Mei began sharing her deep and complex thoughts on love, which immediately captivated the group, making them ask for more advice. Shiori, meanwhile, apologized to Akari for not participating, stating she lacked experience in romantic matters. Akari reassured her, admitting she felt the same way. But as they thought about romance, they couldn't help but picture me. After bathing, Akari coincidentally met me outside and noticed my sunburned skin. Worried, she told me to sit down and began applying soothing sunscreen lotion to my shoulders and back. I became nervous about someone seeing us being too intimate, but Akari brushed it off, reminding me we were married for the practice. Regardless, as she gently applied the cream, she teased when she realized I wasn't ticklish and began to lightly tap my hips. I tried to stop her, but she leaned on me, rested her head on my shoulder and hugged me gently. She admitted she missed moments like these when they were home. Just then, Sachi walked by and they immediately acted normal. Akari quickly pretended I was on my way to get drinks for everyone. When I did that, I referred to her using they to avoid suspicion, but that made Akari uncomfortable. Annoyed, she later texted me, ordering me to meet her at the beach privately. That night, the two of us went to the beach without telling anyone. Coincidentally, Mei also asked me to go for a walk with her in the same area. After that, I apologized to Akari, unsure why she was upset, but my continuous apologies only made her more annoyed. To my surprise, Akari unzipped her jacket, revealing the swimsuit she had prepared just for me. She faced me, sad that I was acting distant in public as if we were strangers. I explained that I thought Akari wouldn't want to be seen with me, but she pulled me closer and insisted she wanted me to see her the way I used to. Her voice trembled slightly as she admitted feeling insecure when I was happy with other girls, and fearing that I might leave her. Seeing her vulnerability, I gently asked if she was jealous. Akari tried to deny it, but her reaction gave her away. Before I could reply, Shiori and Mei appeared nearby, forcing the two of us to quickly hide in a small storage room by the beach. The cramped room pressed us close together, and Akari could feel her heart pounding against my chest. Being so close to me made her realize how much she truly cared about me, and the thought of me choosing someone else horrified her. Outside, Mei stopped, sensing something was wrong. But after hearing more noises, she assumed someone was doing something shady and left with Shiori. When everything was over, Akari, flustered, told me to get out, but I refused to back down, realizing how much she had affected me recently with her teasing and closeness. The tension between them lingered in the air until my body suddenly gave out from exhaustion from the sun, and I passed out from infatuation. When I woke up later, I immediately apologized again, but this time Akari stopped me. She gently told me not to keep apologizing, and admitted that she wanted me to see all sides of her, not just the surface. I felt relieved hearing her words, but deep down I realized I was still conflicted, unsure of where our relationship truly stood. The next morning, Shiori barely slept. Her thoughts kept returning to last night when she discovered Akari was at the beach. And when she looked, she also saw me there. That image lingered in her mind, stirring up insecurity and curiosity about what might have happened between us. On my way to the bathroom, I unexpectedly bumped into Shiori. She almost confronted me, wanting to ask about last night, but stopped herself and quietly continued walking, pretending nothing happened. In the bathroom, I found Akari brushing her teeth. I joined her, trying to act normal, but I couldn't help but feel amazed at how natural she was after what happened last night. Akari noticed my reaction and, with a playful smirk, she teased me about the awkward situation. I immediately got flustered, and Akari left, leaving me with a mischievous grin and a reminder that it would be their little secret. Later at the workplace, I talked with Shiori about the courage test that would take place that evening. Shiori admitted she was worried, fearing she would become a burden to her partner. I reassured her, saying that I hoped we would be paired together so she wouldn't have to worry. Shiori smiled faintly at my words, accidentally blurting out how much she liked my good, considerate side to the point of being addicted. We both froze. Realizing what she had just said, Shiori quickly withdrew her words, pretending it was just in a friendly manner. After Shiori left, I sat there lost in thought until Kamo suddenly appeared, teasing me about being caught between two fiery girls. I brushed it off, but Kamo, looking smug, proposed a plan where he could help me secretly become Shiori's partner for the courage test. At first I was hesitant, but I listened as Kamo explained that his brother was running the event and could influence the drawing. I finally agreed, but with a condition. I wanted Kamo to pair Akari with Minami, so she could also achieve her dream. Afterwards, as the girls drew lots, Mei secretly observed them and discreetly passed the results to Kamo. She wondered why he had to go to such lengths instead of just marking the lots. But Kamo explained that Shiori wouldn't appreciate winning through a cheap trick. Hearing this, Mei realized Kamo had a surprisingly considerate side. That night, the whole group paired up for the courage test. Akari was delighted to be paired with Minami, but as he gently took her hand, her thoughts betrayed her. She remembered the feeling of me holding her hand earlier, sensing my warmth, softness, and steadiness, and her heart fluttered in confusion. As the test began, Akari realized she had dropped her smartphone somewhere in the forest. Hours passed, and eventually, everyone returned, except for Akari and Minami. Worry spread through the group, but Sachi gently suggested they might just be lost somewhere to develop the plot. Hearing this, I felt uneasy but couldn't explain why. Surprisingly, Kamo's brother received a call from Minami. He explained that after Akari lost her phone, they had split up to search and got separated. Therefore, Akari was still out there alone. Worried, I rushed out to find her, even as Kamo's brother reassured everyone that Minami would find her, and Shiori urged me to stay. Ignoring their advice, I ran into the forest, shouting Akari's name. I couldn't find her, but I found her phone lying on the forest floor, which made me even more worried. Meanwhile, Akari wandered in the dark forest, hugging herself as the rain began to fall. She felt small and helpless, wishing she could rely on her own strength instead of always depending on others. Suddenly, she heard footsteps and called my name, but it was Minami, who appeared and had found her. They sought shelter from the rain, and Minami gently apologized, saying he was sorry he wasn't the person she really wanted to see. Akari denied it, but Minami smiled gently, already knowing her heart belonged to me. Back in the forest, while I was still searching, Shiori appeared holding an umbrella. She told me that Minami had found Akari and that she was safe. Quietly, but frustrated, I admitted I felt useless for not being able to protect her. Shiori quickly dismissed my self-pity, saying I had tried my best since the marriage ceremony began. She quietly admitted that she felt a little jealous that Akari got to see a side of me that Shiori had never seen. I reassured her that I hadn't changed, but Shiori saw right through me. She knew there were moments and sides of me that Akari had seen and she never had. I then hesitantly asked her about our kiss and if she was practicing with Minami. Shiori blushed and denied it, assuring me that I was the only one she had kissed. Overwhelmed with emotion, she tried to run away, but I caught her. Before she could say anything, Shiori suddenly hugged me tightly, whispering that she wanted me to show her a side of myself that only she could see. Back to Akari, Minami smiled faintly, saying that seeing her with me was like seeing his little sister with someone he liked. Akari teased him, hinting that his feelings might change if they were eventually paired for the marriage ceremony. But Minami gently shook his head. He admitted he had known about her feelings for him for a long time and, though grateful, told her that his heart already belonged to someone else. Akari hesitated before asking if it was Shiori, but Minami chuckled, denying it. He explained that his love was for someone from the past, someone he had seen with someone else, and that it was too painful to forget. He didn't want Akari to experience similar pain, so he encouraged her to be honest with her feelings for me and fight for her happiness. Although she cried when he said he couldn't reciprocate her feelings, Akari insisted that he shouldn't apologize. Loving him was already a precious and happy part of her life, and she cherished that. After calming down, she declared with renewed determination that she would win my heart. Minami smiled faintly, touched by her spirit, and silently wished her the very best. A moment later, Akari fell asleep on Minami's shoulder. He quietly looked at her, murmuring a silent wish for her and my happiness. But elsewhere, under the trees, Shiori and I shared a silent moment in a kiss that neither of us fully understood. Weeks after the beach trip, Akari returned to the temple she had visited before, quietly praying for a chance to win my heart. Meanwhile, Shiori couldn't stop thinking about her kiss with me in the rain. She wondered if he felt anything for her that night, or if it was just a meaningless moment. Back home, I was also haunted by that kiss. I kept replaying it in my head, frustrated that I didn't understand why she apologized afterward. I even worried that she might not have liked it. Perhaps something was wrong with my dry, chapped lips. To distract myself, I went to the bookstore to buy some manga. As I reached for a book on the shelf, my hand accidentally brushed against Shiori's. To my surprise, she was there too. In a moment of contemplation, we were both taken aback, but Shiori explained she was getting books for her brother. Relieved that we could talk normally without awkward tension, I felt a little more at ease. As we left the store together, it started to rain. I quickly looked for something to say, but before I could, Shiori bravely invited me to her place to wait out the rain. Before letting me in, Shiori quickly tidied her room and welcomed me inside. The place felt warm and cozy, surprisingly like my own home. We sat together sipping tea and quietly reading books. For a while, the silence felt comfortable, and I couldn't help but feel happy knowing I was sharing this space with her. But when our eyes met, the moment became suddenly heavy with unspoken thoughts, and Shiori retreated to her room, her heart pounding. Inside, she debated with herself, wondering if I disliked her. Meanwhile, I sat there, lost in thought, worrying that Shiori might find me boring or distant. Just then, Shiori called me to the window, showing me a beautiful rainbow outside. She took a picture of us with the rainbow as a backdrop, capturing the memory. Feeling the moment was right, I almost gathered the courage to confess, but before I could, Shiori showed me a photo from their beach trip, where I saw Akari in the picture. I hesitated and retracted my confession. That night, I lay in bed, still thinking about the confession I couldn't make. Just then, Akari texted me, asking if I wanted to hang out. For her part, Akari anxiously stared at her phone before sending the message, gathering all the courage she had. When I agreed, she invited me on a proper date. At first, I panicked, thinking Akari might be planning to trick me, but I decided to go anyway. After waiting for 15 minutes, Akari arrived, breathing heavily from rushing. She asked if I thought she looked cute, and though I complimented her with great admiration, she still giggled. She even admitted that she bought this outfit just for me before dragging me to start their day. Their first stop was a cozy cafe I'd never been to before, but I remember Akari mentioning how much she liked it. When she noticed me noticing that detail, Akari couldn't hide her laughter as she beckoned for a sip from my drink, and though I hesitated, I still gave it to her. Seeing my flustered reaction, she burst into laughter, sensing just how nervous I was. Next, Akari led me to a cat cafe that both of us were either mesmerized or charmed by the playful kittens. As Akari bent down to pet one, she invited me to join, and we ended up laughing together as the little cats playfully swarmed around us. She took a picture of us holding a kitten, and when I saw it, I blurted out that we looked like a married couple with a newborn. Embarrassed by my own words, I braced myself for Akari's reaction, but instead, she laughed, which surprised me even more. And for the first time, I realized we were actually dating. Afterwards, as they walked home, Akari remembered she left her prayer beads at the shrine and decided to stop by. On the way, they unexpectedly ran into Shiori, who was surprised to see them together. When Akari explained where they were going, Shiori asked if she could join and suggested racing to the shrine. Never wanting to fall behind, Akari accepted the challenge. Entrusting me with their treasures, the two girls rushed ahead, passing by scenes reflecting their quiet hopes. Children playing, couples holding hands, and families laughing together. Deep down, both Akari and Shiori knew they were competing for the same guy. However, neither was willing to back down. They arrived at the shrine at the same time, panting, and declared a tie. Just then, an elderly couple appeared, greeting them warmly. Strangely enough, the man shared the same name as me, and even looked like me. But before I could catch up, this couple had mysteriously vanished. Finally, all three of us stood before the shrine, closing our eyes to pray. Each girl silently wished that she was the one I chose, while I, caught between them, simply prayed for everyone's happiness, though my heart was still undecided. My story ends here. Make sure you subscribe and turn on notifications. Thanks for watching until the end, and see you again.